Thanks. My name is Chad Sakonchick. I am from Austin, Texas. I am the founder of Better Legal, which, as Kieran said, is we're kind of moving towards a start, maintain, protect, like bucketing of our products, but we help start businesses in the United States as LLCs and corporations. We help maintain them with state compliance and things like that are required by each state, which is quite complex, especially when you have 50 states. And then recently we've done some stuff with some AI. But I have built this. It started in 2016. It started fully in code. In 2022 is when I moved fully to Bubble. I did a 30-day build an app and launch it. And I took Kieran's course. That's actually how I got introduced to Bubble. So I took Kieran's course. I put it on 2x speed. And just like, I understood how everything worked. I just needed to understand how it worked in Bubble. And so rebuilt my entire company on Bubble in 2 months. We ran both systems parallel for about another 4 to 6 months, and then fully sunset the old tool and are running fully on Bubble. So the theme of this talk is less billionaires and more millionaires. If every single person in this room has $1 million a year business, that is $150 million a year in total revenue. And so that means less big companies and more small companies. Now, the way I've got this set up, this is kind of, it's not a hierarchy like this, like there's the founder and the dev and the designer. The founder is more of a person that has to wear all the hats. There's accounting, there's talking to customers, there's customer support. There's so many things that run the business. So this is kind of what that is. And then these are more focused roles where it's like a dev is a no-code dev, is working kind of focused, and a designer is kind of handling the UX and things like that. But I also kind of think of this in terms of, one dev can be working for 5 companies, or one designer can be working for 9 companies. I also like this model because if you're a designer and you're working for 9 companies, making $1,000 a month at each, that is $100,000 a year in income. Whereas if you work for a big company and they lay you off, that is 100% of your income wiped out, whereas if one of these companies goes out of business, it's only a small fraction of that. So, a lot of people think AI and no-code are cute trends. I'm here to tell you that they're not. You may have played with ChatGPT a little bit, and maybe it didn't give you the answer that you wanted, and so you kind of tossed it aside and said, well, maybe later. Maybe you played with Bubble or Glide or any one of the apps out there, and just decided, oh, okay, well, I can like make cool stuff with this, but it's not for like legitimate businesses. So let's talk about some cute trends. This is Apple's very first product. If you're familiar with the Apple II, this is the Apple I. This is in the Smithsonian. Now, can you imagine a young Steve Jobs looking at this little jigsawed piece of wood and how he actually felt about that? And can you actually think about somebody, an investor, saying, well, how do you scale this? How do you build something like this? It's nonsense, right? But let's look at what happened after the release of the Apple I. Let's do a little timeline. So it got the Apple I. 3 entire years later is when the first killer app came out. That's VisiCalc. Now, I want to also mention that the Apple I was built in kind of a hobbyist community. So they were all in California. They were going to these little one-day kind of showcasing, showing what they built with a bunch of microprocessors and cobbled together. And so that's where the Apple I came from. Then we had VisiCalc, which is the first spreadsheet. And then we had an entire, almost decade later, we had Photoshop. 4 years after that, Mosaic, the first browser, which is where you could actually get on the internet and browse the World Wide Web. 98, 6 years after that, Google. And then Facebook in 2004. Now, 2007, we've got this infamous quote from Steve Ballmer. $500 fully subsidized with a plan. I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world. And it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. This is talking about the iPhone. He laughed and laughed at it. Let's look at how this developed. So we started with the Newton. This was an Apple product in 1993. 3 years after that was the Palm Pilot. Palm Pilot spurned a company called PayPal. And PayPal's very first product, it was actually a company called Confinity. Their first product was called PayPal, which was a Palm Pilot to Palm Pilot like a Venmo, where you could actually like send money via the IR sensor. 2004 was the Trio, which is like kind of in the early days of the first smartphone, the first real smartphone. And then it wasn't until 2007, nearly 14 years after the Newton, that we actually got the iPhone. And then it was another 3 years where we got Uber and Instagram, and we started to make real products and real legitimate businesses from that device. So the date of release of ChatGPT was November 30th, 2022. So as of today, we are still not, ChatGPT is still less than 18 months old. So if you look at those 3-year cycles that I was talking about, we're not even halfway there. So let's really quickly talk about the evolution and kind of accessibility of starting a business. This is pre-computer. You can see how many people were required to do kind of data management, physical data management, having to write things down on paper like the accounting and inventory, things like that. You needed a lot of people, a lot of office space, a lot of manual typewriters. Then we moved to post-computer, pre-cloud, where we actually have desktop computers. Now, all of that data has now been digitized. It's still in very large systems, but now you have the very first idea of like inter-office communication without having to physically move around. Then we moved to kind of cloud, which is kind of in 2 phases. We moved from desktop software to software hosted on the internet, and that basically was the beginning of this huge software bloat, where it's kind of the one-size-fits-all model, where one CRM system serves everybody. This is when we started kind of moving away from servers in the office, and we started moving to the cloud, where you just put something on AWS, and everyone has a subscription now. This is when we started doing that. So then we started moving to mobile. Mobile is when we had the rise of the UX, so we started seeing things like Google and Facebook create design standards where you pull down to refresh the screen. Everybody knows that. You just get used to these things. Pinch to zoom. Everybody has a software in their pocket. We start seeing real productivity software in the pocket. Now, you still prefer your laptop or a desktop, but you can do real things on your phone, and there's some instant communication. We also start getting the winners and losers, the really big companies, and there aren't really a lot of like second place companies. It's like the real big winners and then kind of nobody else. And this is kind of the rise of the gig economy, where we start seeing more people moving away from like corporate jobs to contracting jobs or gigs. And that's where we come today. And you'll see how awesome these people love working on the beach with their huge screens. So no-code is a fancy new word that really is just an evolution of the word WYSIWYG. So 20 years ago, I was playing with a piece of software called Dreamweaver, and I was developing websites with Dreamweaver. WYSIWYG basically means what you see is what you get. No-code is basically the same thing. Now, the difference between WYSIWYG and no-code is WYSIWYG was really just kind of the interface. There wasn't a whole lot of like content management that went on. There was some, but not a lot. Now we have these modern no-code tools pair the design, the logic, and the data together in one to allow you to do really, really complex things. Instead of these mega monolith pieces of software that serve everybody, we're going to start seeing the best for you software. So because you can run smaller teams and create an exact specific type of software for a very specific industry, you can do it at a lower cost with less people, charge less, and so people in niches are going to be able to have software that is made specifically for them. So instead of having, 6 features that you need, and the biggest software companies only provide 4, you're going to get all 6 fulfilled. Instead of hiring the best person in your geographic location, you can hire the best person anywhere using Fiverr, Upwork, or something else. And it really levels the playing field. Everybody can have 1,000 customers on their app and make a decent living. So what is code? This is the only language that computers understand. That is actually what this says. This is Python. This is JavaScript. This is machine code. It all means the same thing. This is a layer of abstraction that gets translated to this. So my question is, why do we need to spend all this time to learn this and spend hours banging your head against the desk because you forgot a semicolon or a tab instead of a space? There's too high level of kind of self-education needed to do this. So my argument is, why? Why do we do that? So I was doing accounting the other night, and I needed a field in my Google Sheets to kind of do something very specific. Now, I could have Googled it, and I could have learned how to do this, and I could have said, okay, this is what I'm trying to do, and then fiddled with it through the results. Instead, I just wrote, I have a number in a Google Sheets cell. I'm not going to read all this to you, but basically, late at night, in a string of run-on sentences, I told ChatGPT what I needed. It gave me this. I double-checked its work. It's the right answer. Okay, so now we talked about code, the front end, the back end code. Let's talk about the data piece. What is a database? Well, I would argue that a database and a spreadsheet are basically the same thing. So this is a spreadsheet. We have multiple tabs on a spreadsheet, just like you'd see in any spreadsheet. This is equivalent to a table. So this is the orders table. You have all the information pertaining to the order, but you have a customer column that relates to the customer's table. So we'll call this table, get that information. Same with the products over here. If you were to look up P5, 6, 7, 8, you would actually get the product name, the location, how many widgets there might be. And so what is the difference between a spreadsheet and a database? So the difference is with a database, you can do much more complex query. But with ChatGPT, we can now just say, okay, well, here's my sheet. What is the most popular product of the last 7 days from the order table? And this is the equivalent SQL query. Think about how much time it would take someone to write this, even if you were fluent in it. Maybe 5, 15 minutes versus writing this in a couple seconds. So NoCode and AI is simply the highest level of abstraction that we have today. And so let's go back to these big mega apps, something like Salesforce or Carta, that just provide all the features to everybody. Now, everybody probably has this understanding where you only use a couple of the features. So 80% of the users need 20% of the features. Now, each user needs a different 20% of the features. That's why they're all there, and that means that everybody pays for all the features. You don't pay for the 20% of the features you need, you pay for everybody else's features as well, because they've got to support a huge, huge, huge dev team. And so we're going to move to this kind of off-the-shelf, everybody gets the same version, to, wouldn't you rather wear this? Right? So, what are some examples? So this is Productivity Suite, clever play on words. This is 100% built on Bubble. It might look like Asana or ClickUp if you're familiar, but what it does is it allows the user to customize it to exactly how they want it. Now, they can't do that in Asana. They can't move things around and add Kanban boards and kind of a doc anywhere they want, because the product manager at Asana decided that you don't have that functionality. And so here you can add folders, you can add spaces, and then this is a space, and then you have different tabs, and each tab can be, this is a list, the overview is a doc, the blog is a series of posts with custom fields. When you go into configuration mode here, you can customize the app, so you can add new fields of any type that you want. You can add a widget where a field is inappropriate. You can add a widget that is comments. You can add multiple comment widgets, because one might be a discussion and one might be feedback. You can add a widget of files, or maybe it's a widget of a Stripe widget where you actually want to be able to take orders from this. So this product can be anything that you want it to be. And let's say you're a roofer and you build the perfect roofing project management system in this. Well, using this tool, you can also white label it and make it roofingcrm.com, brand it as yours, and resell it as yours. So now, so we're talking about layers of abstraction. We've got code, we've got Bubble, and we've got Productivity Suite. So now a roofer can be a software developer with no code. If you want to check this out, I'll leave this up for a second. This is the link to that. You can also just go to productivitysuite.com. I am going to have more QR codes on here, so you can, and you can just find me after, and I can do that. Okay, so, well, what's the number one objection everybody says? Well, it doesn't scale. Okay, if you're familiar with this graphic, this is from Twitter. This graphic was basically on all the time at Twitter during its growth. Now Twitter is probably one of the top 10, top 20, if not higher, websites in the world. So like, let's look at other technologies that didn't scale. ARPANET, 1969, when it was released, had 4 nodes or devices that were there. And then, 3 years later, it had 23. 23 devices on the entire internet. DNS originally was hosted on one hosts.txt file. Everything that said that google.com goes to 1.1.122 whatever was hosted on one single file before they decentralized it. SMTP didn't have authentication, so you could basically spoof that you were sending email to someone else before they fixed that. HTTP. This didn't have persistent connection, so every single time you filled in a form or clicked a button, it was a completely new session. TCP/IP, we ran out of addresses. IPv4, we had to move to IPv6. SQL databases couldn't handle all the data that was going through. Kind of the same problem that we're having with crypto at the time. So, 1969, there were 3.6 billion people on the planet. 2024, there were 5.3 billion internet users. This is not the population, this is people on the internet with 30 billion devices. Okay, so how do we build a no-code app? So, with AI. So basically, we take the chat, and then we wrap an interface around it. Okay, so we're just going to build a quick app, and I'm going to talk to ChatGPT, and I'm going to get comfortable and get repeatable results from ChatGPT before I actually wrap an interface around it. And so basically, I just went to Goodreads, found this book, copied the whole thing, went to ChatGPT, said, create a JSON framework for a book based on the information provided. If you don't know what JSON is, this is what JSON is. It's just kind of a file format that allows you to easily put it into a database or spreadsheet. And then I just pasted all the information in, and this is what it gave me. This is literally all I put in, and this is exactly what it gave me. So then the next step is, I say, okay, ChatGPT, thanks for the information. Now remove the values. This is the key. This is the value, key-value pair. Remove the values, and then we've got the framework. So then I just say, in a new tab, or in a new ChatGPT, I say, hey, I'm going to give you a series of just a series of information. Some might have the description, some might not. Some might have categories, some might not. Just go ahead and fill in when you can. And so I can just do that over and over and just paste in more information one at a time, and it will take all of that. Fun little trick. After you're done with that, you can say, hey, all the information I give you, give it to me in one file, and it will wrap it up for you. So once you have that repeatable process, you can then throw this in a bubble behind the API connector, put an interface around it, and now you have a web app. I have a video that talks more about this on YouTube that kind of goes into this whole process. You can do this. I'm going to be posting more videos explaining how to do these various things. Again, I'll have this afterwards. Okay, so what does this app look like? User lists their favorite books. The AI ingests all the information, rolls it all up, and says, this is what this person likes, goes finds more books, provides them a list of books that have Amazon links on them, and then when they click it, you get some money back. This is a free app. Anybody can go build it. I would love to use it. So what is possible? This is my company. So Better Legal has been around for about 6-7 years. We do business formation, state compliance, and things like that. But late last year, I decided to get into AI, and I was like, okay, well, legal and AI can go hand in hand. So what I did was I launched a quick Chrome extension on Product Hunt, and all it did was allowed you to paste in a paragraph, and then it would convert it to something simple that a 10-year-old could understand. That's literally all it did. Put it on Product Hunt, got 1,000 users on that, and that convinced me to build a contract analysis tool. So then I basically told everybody, hey, I'm making a contract analysis tool. Give me a contract, and I'll send you back an analysis. So I did this by hand manually. So they sent me a contract, and I ran it through my ChatGPT prompts through the interface, and then I sent them back a PDF. And people will say, like, oh, okay, well, that's not what I wanted. I kind of thought it would do that. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll add that too. And then so after about 10 or 12 of doing that manually, then I had exactly what someone wanted every single time. And every time they got this analysis back, they were like, this is awesome. So then I just put an interface around it. And so this became the feature set based on me doing this manually. So it extracts all the elements, parties, dates, definitions, timelines. Is it a legit contract that meets the requisite elements of a contract? Do different clauses favor someone more than another? Now that it knows the party, this is when you start chaining prompts together and using the interface. This will tell you what can negatively affect you on this contract. You pick which of these scenarios that you care about, and then it will give you deeper considerations and potential options to potentially modify it. This is what the interface looks like. You basically upload it. It's still a Chrome extension, so that's why we kind of made this entire interface. This is 100% run on Bubble. Again, Bubble and ChatGPT. And so you upload the contract. You can actually see the contract, so you can scroll down and look at the various information on the right-hand side as you see the contract over here. After you pick your party, I am this person, I am Gary Smith, it then, where am I? There we go. It then, you selected Gary Smith, it gives you these scenarios, and then when you go into the other steps, it'll give you more information about that. So this is my product that I built, launched it in January. We have 1,400 users that have done over 2,000 explanations. I mentioned what an explanation is, just paste in some legal paragraphs or whatever. It has analyzed over 650 contracts in over 20 languages. ChatGPT understands every language, so by default, your product understands every language. And so we have done 20 languages in 2 contracts in 2 languages. So English and Arabic, and English and Portuguese. We actually had a TikToker go viral in Egypt. And we started getting a ton of traffic from the Middle East and just had a bunch of Arabic contracts uploaded. I saw the video. I didn't have any idea what the guy said, but it looked cool. This is that tool. If you would like to support me, you would like to test it, send it to a friend, check this out. All right, so what do I need from you? Start building legitimate companies. Don't play around with NoCode and AI. Build something, put it out there, get people to use it. Get 5 to 10 people to use it, get some feedback, get 5 to 10 more people to use it, and decide whether this is legitimate and you want to continue with it or if you should start something new. It usually takes a couple things. A stupid idea that you think is stupid might actually be the idea that makes a lot of money. And the way that you break this up is you spend 30% of the time building and 70% of the time selling. Okay? Because there's so much more stuff that goes into the business than just building. So do not waste all of your time building. Okay. Since we're talking about selling, let's also talk about what else you can do with AI with marketing. This is a video we built using Midjourney and Runway ML. And it's basically an idea of what would it look like if 3 billionaires ran a fast food joint. And it's actually a really great video. This is how we did it. We basically just storyboarded it with Midjourney images. And then you basically upload a Midjourney image into Runway ML. And then, like, let's say you want someone running. They're kind of in this motion. You basically take a brush and you draw the brush like this, and you say, I want the movement to go side by side, and the computer will decide how the movement goes. So basically, it just creates a bunch of 3 to 6 second clips, throw them together in an editing tool, and now you have a video. So this is the video if you want to see it. We actually had to take it down publicly because once we looked at it, we were like, this like looks too good. And so people might get confused. And so you can actually check this out. So what do you build? Take a popular SaaS, just like Productivity Suite. Take something like Asana that has too many features and just create an indie version of it and sell it to your community, things that you know that people complain about of a popular SaaS. A competitor that is built on code. I actually did this. I was using a piece of software for a year, and they just weren't launching features. I was getting frustrated, and so I literally just built something in about a month and switched over to this and saved myself $1,200 a year. Same app, but less features, lower price, or a very specific app that has those 6 features that someone needs, but at a higher price. But you can also go on Twitter search or X search, whatever, and check that out. And there's people complaining about stuff all the time. You can just really mine Twitter data for that. This is my Twitter. This is the best way to reach me. This is what I look like. This is my YouTube channel where I'm starting to post more videos about how to do no-code and AI stuff together. And that's it. So thank you for your time. If you want to chat afterwards, give me a call.